Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome all. Today, we're continuing our parent empowerment series for Indian River families. If you are in Indian River County, this is for you. Today, we'll be discussing FAPE or FAPE, which is the Free Appropriate Public Education under IDEA. And whether you are looking for community resources, navigating special education services, or simply seeking tools to better support your child, this presentation will provide valuable information and practical guidance. My name is Yalpri Ortega. I am a parent training coordinator for the Parent Education Network program, also known as PEN, here at the Family Network on Disabilities. And I'm so happy to be here sharing this information with you. So let's get started. Let's start by providing you with a quick glance of who we are here at FND and how we can support you as parents and caregivers, specifically of parents of children with disabilities. So, who are we? FND is 501c3 nonprofit organization, which means that we don't work for local, state, or federal agencies or schools. I'm sorry, funded in part by the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Health. And because of that, all of our services and trainings and the information that we provide is completely free of costs. We are the statewide Parent Training Information Center and the statewide Family to Family Health Information Center. Now, I'm not sure if you knew this, but FND was founded back in 1985 by parents of children with disabilities who decided to join together, come together for mutual support, understanding, sharing of information. And more than 40 years later, we are still here. And FND is unique due to the majority of our staff, board members, and management. We are either family members or parents of children with disabilities, or we ourselves are persons with disabilities. So we have a pretty unique perspective of the disabilities realm. And so we are more than happy to provide this information and resources for you. Now, a quick disclaimer here. Like I said, we are happy to provide information. But here at FND, we are not attorneys, we are not doctors, we are not mental health professionals, but we are more than happy to provide information, resources, and support. Even referrals, if that is what you need, in order to assist you in this journey. All of the information that we provide is research based, and we of course encourage all collaboration with schools and agencies so that you can have all the information available to you to make your informed decisions. Now, let's dive into this presentation and let's talk about IDEA. IDEA, also known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, it has its roots in the past with the previous legislation called, and it was back from 1975, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975. This law, when it was passed, like I said, back in 1975. However, it was not fully meeting all the educational needs of millions of children with disabilities. So, after doing research and studying special education, Congress defined this new special education law, which is IDEA, and it found the following. Disability is a natural part of the human experience and in no way diminishes the right of individuals to participate or contribute in our society. Improving educational results for children with disabilities is an essential element of our national policy of ensuring equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficient for economic self-sufficiency, I'm sorry, for individuals with disabilities. So again, this law has been amended. Most recently, it was amended in 2004, and it establishes all of the information and all of the sections that have to be followed to ensure public, fair and public education for children with disabilities. So uh, that foundation of IDEA is what gave the start for the development of the six major principles, which are also known as the pillars of IDEA. And these six pillars are free, appropriate public education, appropriate evaluation, individualized education plan, least restrictive environment, parent participation, and procedural safeguards. So today we will be expanding on the first one, which is the right to students with disabilities to free, appropriate public education, also known as FAPE or FAPE. So, what is free, appropriate public education? Like I mentioned before, IDEA was originally passed in 1975 as Public Law 94-142, and back then it was called differently. Which was the All Handicapped Children Act, Education for All Handicapped Children. And through this law, grants were given to states for the education of children with disabilities. Now, in August of 2006, the U.S. Department of Education released other regulations for this IDEA that was amended in 2004. And the regulations include the following. Number one, to ensure that all children with disabilities have available to them a free, appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services designed to meet the unique needs and prepare children for further education. Number two, employment and independent living. Then, number three, we have to ensure that the rights of children with disabilities and their parents are protected. And number four, to help state, localities, educational service agencies, and other agencies to provide education for of all children with disabilities. All right. So under IDEA, free appropriate public education means basically not only special education, but also related services. Okay. Free appropriate public education means education and related services that provide children and youth with disabilities public appropriate supervision, direction without charge. It also has to meet the standards of the state educational agency and the requirements under IDEA. And this includes children at the preschool level, elementary school, and secondary education at the state level. So, what are the requirements of FAPE? So, a free appropriate public education must be available to all children resided in the state between the ages of 3 and 21, including children with disabilities who have been suspended or expelled from school. So basically, each state must ensure that FAPE is available to each eligible child residing in the state and that it begins no later than the child's third birthday. Then, like we mentioned, we have children that advance from grade to grade. And so each state must ensure that FAPE is available to all individuals who need special education and related services, even though the child has not failed or been retained in a course. So just because the child has not been retained doesn't mean that they will not be able or will not be eligible to receive free appropriate public education. Now, what are the other FAPE requirements? Let's talk about this because, like we mentioned earlier, this is not only about special education, but also about all the related services that um, revolve around that special education. And that includes, for example, residential placement, assistive technology, extended school year. We have non academic services, physical education. And we will be diving a little deeper into all of those requirements as we go along. So let's start with residential placement. If a student is deemed that it necessary, or if placement in a public or private residential program is necessary to provide that special education and related services to a child with a disability, the program, including non-medical care, must be at no cost to parents of the child, all right? That is as defined under IDEA. Now, what about assistive technology? Each public agency must ensure that assistive technology services or devices or both, as those terms are defined differently, right, in each section, uh, are made available to a child with a disability if it is required as a part of the child's special education, related services, or supplementary aids. Also, on a case by case basis, the use of school purchase assistive technology devices in a child's home or other settings is required if the child's IEP team determines that the child needs access to those devices in order to receive FAPE. Now, remember, each student is unique and each individualized education plan, as the name calls, is individual. So it will depend on what is determined by the IEP team when conducting their evaluations. Okay. Let's continue and talk about the extended school year services. Each public agency must ensure that the extended school year services are available as necessary to provide FAPE. Okay. Um, this means that extended school year and the related services should also be included in this part of the program, right? And in this part, we will also see the type, the amount, the duration of those services as it is drafted in the individualized education plan. All right. What about non-academic services? Well, each state must ensure that the public agency that is eh, in charge of these must take steps, including the provision of supplementary aids and services determined appropriate and necessary by the IEP team to provide non-academic and extracurricular services and activities in the manner necessary to afford children with disabilities an equal opportunity for participation in those services and activities. Okay. Now, what are these activities or extracurricular services? Well, they may include counseling, athletics, transportation, health-related services, recreational activities, even special interests or groups sponsored by the public agency. All right. What about physical education? The states must also ensure that public agencies in the state comply with physical education services. specially designed if necessary, and they must be made available to every child with a disability receiving FAPE, unless the agency that enrolls children without disabilities and does not provide physical education to children without disabilities in the same grades. Meaning that if the school or the agency does not provide physical education, then that would be an exception, right? Then we have, of course, regular physical education. It can be special physical education. It could also be education in separate facilities. So, again, there are many options, and they will all depend on the needs and the services that have been deemed necessary for the success of the child. Okay. Now, the state must also have in effect policies and procedures to demonstrate that the state has established a goal of providing full educational opportunity to all children with disabilities from birth through the age of 21, and a detailed timetable for accomplishing that goal. Okay, so that is also included and is also one of the pillars of FAPE. And the other programs or other options that are available, well, the state must ensure that each public agency takes steps to ensure that its children with disabilities have available to them a variety of educational programs and services that are also available to non-disabled children in the areas that are served by the agency. And this includes art, music, industrial arts, consumer education, homemaking education, in and vocational education. This has been approved by the Office of Management and Budget, and is also included in the guidelines of FAPE. Another one of these pillars is child fine. The state must have in effect policies and procedures to ensure that all children with disabilities residing in the state, including children with disabilities, what we said, who are homeless, on who are wards of the state, or children who are attending private schools, regardless of the severity of the disability, and who are in need of public education and related services, are identified, located, and evaluated. Okay, so there are guidelines for evaluating these students if it is deemed necessary. Okay. Child fine must also include children who are suspected of being children with disabilities, or if they need special education, even like I have mentioned before, if they are advancing from grade to grade. Okay. Let's talk about the Individualized Education Plan, IEP. Also, under FAPE, the state must ensure that IEP or IFSP, which is the Individuals Family Services Plan, meets the requirements of Section 636 Part D of the Act, and that it develops, reviews, and revises for each child with a disability in accordance with the law. Okay, so once um, a student is evaluated, if it is deemed necessary by the IEP team, then an individualized education plan is put in place, of course, with the agreement of parents. There is a process for this, which I'm sure we will be diving into in a different presentation. But if you have any questions, feel free to check out all of the other videos, and you will find one there that is about IEP. All right. Something else that needs to be taken care of is a routine checking of hearing aids and external components. of surgically implanted medical devices. Now, let's make things a little clear. It doesn't mean that the school is responsible for, maintenance, programming, replacing of these devices. Not at all. However, each public agency must ensure that hearing aids worn in school by children with hearing impairments are functioning properly. Uh, External components of surgically implanted medical devices, uh, they must be checked routinely to make sure that they are functioning properly. So again, there are a wide range of responsibilities and guidelines defined here in this FAPE section. I invite you to take a look. And again, you can also take another look of the other presentations that we have about IDEA and IEPs. All right. Well, we have reached the end of our presentation. As you know, we here at FND have several programs under our umbrella. Um, these are the programs housed under Family Network on Disabilities. We have Poppin that serves North Florida. Then we have PSN, which serves Central and South Florida. And we also have Penn, which serves Central and Southeast Florida. This is where I am located. So if you need any services, any assistance, any resources, we are here to assist you. One of the other programs that we have is our healthcare initiative, Family Star. And of course, you can follow us on our social media. We have Facebook, YouTube. We have tons of videos, information, and resources that I'm sure you will find helpful. And well, if you have any questions, any comments about this presentation, feel free to leave us a review. If you need any more information or if you would like to hear more about what we have here for you or anyone that might need guidance with special education, please feel free to reach out. These are our phone numbers, our email address, and you can also go on our website. And like I said, you can leave us a review if you have any comments or any questions about today's presentation. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.